Hello, greetings everybody. I want to welcome you here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're back Sunday night now. Well, it's Sunday afternoon. I just finished doing this week not too long ago, and now I'm going to do the other show that comes out on Sunday, which is Ben's Album Challenge. For those of you new to this show, haven't seen it before, basically Ben is a subscriber of mine, going back almost to the beginning. I think he was number 17. I think he told me before he was the 17th guy to subscribe to me. So he goes back almost to the beginning, and he always chooses an album of interest. If I may not always like what he chooses, but he always keeps it interesting. It's never ever boring. And so he usually chooses an album for me, and he sends it to me via the email. Usually he has a link to it too. Sometimes I use the link, and sometimes I find my own link. But it's always I always basically listen to the album in its entirety, and then give my opinion about the album, and then pick a favorite song on the album as well. That's normally what we do. So when I did listen to this the first time a few days ago, I was really not in a good space. I was kind of feeling sickly and tired and headache and everything, and I kind of had a negative view of the album. But I listened to it again today, and my opinion has changed. I don't think the album has changed, just me. I've changed about it. So anyways, we're going to talk about the album today. So the album we're doing is the Dixie Dregs, and the album is called What If, released in 1978. I believe there are 8 tracks on this album in total. I've made some notes about them, which I will refer to. Couple things about the band before we get started. It's entirely an instrumental band album. There's no vocals on this at all. I wasn't aware of that. I thought that they were just a normal band with vocals and everything. But it shouldn't have surprised me, because I think about the 2 or 3 guys who were talking about the albums that I was listening to. And one of them I know does not like vocal music too much and tends to like instrumental, and he loved this stuff. So I should have known right then and there that was going to be the case. But anyways, I didn't. So after about 2 or 3 tracks and I didn't hear any vocals, I started thinking, okay, yeah. And then I went back to who it was, and I thought, okay, yeah, I'll get it. I didn't. I actually like this album. It ended up, when I look at the tracks on it, I gave like 2 7s, a couple 6.5s, 3 or 4 6s, and the lowest number, there was one song I didn't really care for. I didn't hate it. And I gave it a 5.5, but pretty much that's where. So they were like 6s to 7.5s. Yeah, all the way from like 6 to 7. So they were pretty close ranking songs. So we'll talk a little bit about each of them. So yeah, so it's all instrumental. There's a lot of a jazzy feeling to it. Normally with this type of jazzy stuff, where there's like some serious instrumentation going on, some really talented individuals, you get a lot of jamming, and I am not a jamming person, and most people know that about me, that if it's too much jamming, it just loses me. I can't pay attention. But this wasn't too bad. It was pretty good. The parts where the instrumentals were used kind of fit into the song fairly well. They didn't go ham hock off completely offline and doing whatever. They tend to stay with the kind of the beat with the guitar within the parameters set down, I guess. So anyways, we're going to get to it. The first song is called Take It Off the Top. Heavy, kind of a catchy riff to it. There's really some strong instrumentation to this particular track, and I thought the guitar picking parts were really well done. And the violin was almost, I would use the term ratchet. He was like really going at it, right? The next tune out of it was called Odyssey. This was one of the two songs that were my favorite, so if I had to choose between the two, I would probably pick this one. Lots of very violin dominated at the beginning, at least anyways. Really good use of the violin. I thought the catchy parts of the song, the instrumentation was fantastic. Had a very jazzy feel to it, which then makes me wonder, why was this my favorite? I tend to not like that, but I did like this tune quite a bit. The keyboard part was dominant as well, and I thought the solo was very heavy and very severe in a lot of ways. So this was my favorite track, Odyssey. I think it was one of the longest tracks on the album as well. The next track is the title track, What If. This is kind of a bit of a quiet and kind of a somber feel to this opening of this song. The keyboards were dominant but melodic at the same time. It's a bit more of a milder song. This was the track that I gave the lowest number to. I didn't dislike it, but it just didn't do anything for me, I guess is the best way to put it. The next song up was Travel Tunes. There's more of an up-tempo guitar part in it. The guitar and the music is kind of very rocking here, and there's lots of different guitar sounds here, so there seems to be like more than two. I would say there's more than two guitars going on here, and they're different. So you're getting a lot of different flavor on the guitars here. And I thought the guitar solo on this song was like top shelf solo, one of the best solos on the album for sure. The next tune up was called Ice Cakes. This one is more of another up-tempo kind of jazzy number, I think. The instrumentation on this song is among the strongest on the album too. There seems to be a lot of stuff going on here. And the guitar and the violin kind of doing their thing together. It's almost like they're kind of trading off a bit here. So yeah, really catchy song that way. The next one was called Little Kids. Kind of a little bit of a folky song with the violin in there. Almost some Irish dancing. This is where the violin kind of goes from being a violin to being what we would call a fiddle. You know, there's a little bit of that in here. A little bit of an Irish dance feeling to it almost, right? But a good song. Next up is called Gina Lola Breakdown. This one is very country-ish. And the band's called the Dixie Dregs. This song is absolutely Dixie-sounding music here. Very country-ish, but up-tempo country-ish, kind of, Dixieland. That's exactly the best way to describe it. The banjo really adds to that whole thing on this particular track too. Really, really catchy tune. The next track up is called Night Meets Light. Keyboards, really good. Really like the keyboards on this song a lot. It's a bit of a milder song, and it has a bit of an operatic feel to it. So these guys are not afraid at all to challenge themselves to do different styles of music. They go from Dixieland to jazz to hard rock, all the way to this kind of operatic sound. They're not afraid to experiment with everything. So you're going to get a wide variety of feeling on this album. At least that's what I got. So there may be parts of the album, initially when I heard the jazz part, I started getting a little bit of a negative because I wasn't feeling well. But once I went back and listened to the album, I realized that they weren't just going to stick with that one flow, and they had lots of really good sounding stuff, a lot of varied music on the album altogether. So you won't get bored, if nothing else. And so I actually ended up liking the album. Would I have liked vocals? Yes. Given a choice, I don't care how good of an instrumentation the album is. The Snow Goose is a great instrumentation album. But if you were to add vocals to it, I would like it more. And that's the same here. If you added vocals, well, of course, if it's Peter Hamill that you're going to add the vocals to, I would probably hate it. But for the most part, if you add decent quality vocals to it, I probably will like it much more. That's just my own preference. It has nothing to do with the instrumentation on this album is going to be great no matter whether there's vocals or not, but I think the vocals would make it a better album. So that's it. That's Ben's album challenge for this week. The Dixie Dregs, their album What If from 1978. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Ben's album challenge. Please hit the like and subscribe if you have. It'd be much appreciated. If you got any comments about the Dixie Dregs, about the album, about anything I've said, your own experiences with them or this particular album, you can put that all in the comment section below. And please do not forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode on the channel. And we will see you later. Have a good evening. Take care.